And so in the process of doing this, so you're talking about all the testing, all the pills, but you also have a very specific exercise routine. Mm-hmm. It's only 1 hour a day, but it's an intense 1 hour a day. You also do like a red light treatment for your skin.
Yeah, and so you can see this. This is from laser treatment.
Okay.
Yeah. I did it on Saturday, so it's just 3 days in.
Okay, I noticed that you have some spots in your neck.
Yeah.
That's from the same thing?
Laser, yeah.
Okay, and what does that do exactly?
So the objective is, I said I want to be like an 18-year-old in a playful way. My son, I have 2 boys, 19 and 17, and we love doing things together. We love playing sports together, racing. We compete at everything. We love doing it. It's so much fun. And so I always joke with them, when I grow younger, I want to be like you. And so they're also cool in that when I'm doing a certain test, like for example, what does optimal body fat and muscle look like? You know, they get under the MRI, I get under the MRI. We do these comparisons. They do all the same tests. So it's cool to have these comparisons. And so we're trying to get my skin to be the same as theirs at 18 years of age. The elastin, the collagen, all the above. And so it's just it's a reference marker for us of how do you actually go after youth and our organs, like your heart and your lungs, your skin. There's characteristics of a certain age. And so it's just a playful way of saying, you know, we're after rejuvenation. I play with my kids. We have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, I just had Neil deGrasse Tyson on my show the other day, and, you know, we were talking about immortality and everything else like that. And I told him, you know, I always thought, at least when I was younger, that at one point, you know, I might have a robot body, that, you know, when my body starts to break down, they'll be able to take my brain and throw it into a robot or, I don't know, maybe like a human body that they've somehow farmed and so forth. But that's not realistic. And, you know, he's saying that, you know, through genes and so forth, it's a more of a realistic approach to living longer. Do you think there'll be a point in the future where humans will be able to cheat death in the way of removing their brain and putting it into a different body or putting it into a robot body to preserve?
Unnecessary.
You know,
Unnecessary. We'll just mess with the genome and you live forever.
Mess with the genome.
Yeah, just change the genes in a way so that they don't age. We're much closer to that than separating your brain out and putting it
with mice already?
And putting it in a jar.
They're doing that with mice.
There are ways we can prolong the life of other animals, but they don't live forever. They just live longer than they otherwise would have. So I think we're much closer to that manipulation of the genome than removing the brain from your skull and sticking it in a jar.
I mean, do you ever see, as someone who has a company that focuses on brains, do you ever see a brain transplant actually being a reality?
I mean, if the conversation, what technologies are coming that could save you and me? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think a brain transplant is something we should put a lot of hope into.
Why is that?
I mean, the amount of time it would take to figure that out and to get it stable is some unknown duration of time. So the thing that we can do today is eat more vegetables, go to sleep on time, and exercise. These are immediately in our control. And this is again what I'm trying to show is these basics we all know of, if done well, can dramatically change. And so your conversation with him maybe calls attention to this idea that typically what happens in these conversations is you exchange information about the idea and then it's pointed at the horizon of like, oh, over there we'll have blankety 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 blank. And then our minds go to like amazing future. Meanwhile, we have all these terrible habits. So meanwhile, we have all these terrible habits that are accelerating our aging. So we're not going to be around for this amazing blankety blank thing. And so what I'm really trying to do is call attention to right here, right now, everybody can dramatically slow their speed of aging. So whenever this stuff does show up, we're around to benefit from it. But this is the thing that I tried to prove is, so we're all familiar with this Fountain of Youth story. People in a boat going to someplace in the jungle, a temple, they find an elixir, and they've got it. And I'm trying to say, is a Fountain of Youth here in its baby form, not baby form, in its early form, it's just hidden in thousands of scientific publications and a lot of really hard work.
Well, yeah. I mean, I looked it up. The list of verified oldest people was a woman named Jeanne Calment. from France who lived to 122 years and 164 days. Mm-hmm. Does that sound plausible?
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right. Do you expect to live that long based on your current regimen? Or do you plan on beating that?
Certainly. I mean, I don't know why. If somebody is able to hang around for the next few decades, I don't know why we would have a cap on our imagination. I don't know what fundamental principles exist that would lead someone to say, we can say with confidence, there's a cap.
Yeah. I mean, although 122 years is, what's interesting about this also is that she was born in 1875. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah,
no antibiotics, really. Very little modern science. Seemed like she just got lucky on a lot of different levels because, I mean, if you look at someone that was born in the 1900s, there's Maria Branius. Seems like women are more likely to live longer for whatever reason. She lived 116 years, 52 days. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking, most people, I'm looking through this list and there's really very few people that were, basically the early 1900s is where it starts to kind of cap out. Well, of course, you got to count the actual time, and I'm sure there's people that are alive today that might push the envelope, but it doesn't seem like things are getting better. It almost seems like the environment is making people die earlier as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah. One way to think about this is if we try to map out how fast are things going to change and how fast will innovation be in the coming decades. Mm-hmm. And so I would offer a frame with this idea. First principle thinking is talent hits the target no one else can. Genius hits the target no one can see. So let's just say talent is doing things better on an iterative basis, mm-hmm. and genius is changing the game entirely.
Yeah.
So we find DNA exists. We discover electricity, right? Like we discover these fundamental things that change everything. How many of these genius level innovations are we going to have? So you can look at the course of human history and say, okay, well, through thousands of years, we have a pretty good awareness of things that have happened.
Yeah. Penicillin was a game changer.
So now you say, now artificial intelligence is here, right, as our partner in doing this. And you look at the speed of genius level discoveries that artificial intelligence makes. And you start mapping that out and say, okay, now the whole landscape's very different. So now any model we create in the future of how fast we think things are going to change, what discoveries are we going to make on what timescales, we have no idea. And that to me is the most exciting part. Is any model we have of anticipating time horizons does not account for the speed of artificial intelligence introducing genius level change. Mm. And this is what I'm saying.
Okay, I see what you're saying. You say the AI will come up with ideas that humans have not been able to come up with themselves.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like exactly. And so then it goes back to the simple lesson. If you're alive today, don't die. And the way to not die is stop your bad habits, eat more vegetables, get your good sleep, exercise. Like it's a really simple game. If we're walking into this future that is potentially more extraordinary than anything we've ever imagined, and we have a total inability to predict it, model it, anticipate it at all. Anything we speculate on it is just has no bearing whatsoever. We're casting our thoughts in there, but we're using old models to do so.
Yeah, exciting stuff. This is something that every human thinks of, whether they admit to or not. I think everyone wants to live forever. No one has ever done it. And, this is where religion comes in, because religion allows you to achieve that hypothetically. You'll go to heaven and you'll live forever in a perfect place, or, you'll go to hell and live in agony in an imperfect place. But yeah, I mean, I think the whole concept behind all these things is we just wish we had more time, and time is the most valuable thing in the universe.
Yes.
More important than anything else, because if you have more time, then you can achieve more things.
Exactly.
I mean, like, it's one of those things where I think Neil deGrasse Tyson also argued that the fact that you have a limited amount of time gives the time more value. So it's a handoff. Me personally, I'll take the more time.
I mean, but that's just a justification for a reality that exists, right?
Exactly.
But to be clear, this is not about immortality. The human brain cannot contemplate immortality. It breaks our brains. Yeah. The only thing we can come up with is we can say, when I go to bed tonight, do I want to live tomorrow? That's it. Mm-hmm. And do I have things going tomorrow I want to live for? Fine. But it's just, to me, it's just one day after another. It's not about eternity. It's just being our best selves, doing our best lives day to day.
I mean, right. I mean, to fully achieve immortality, you'd have to have a way of transferring your brain into another medium, right? Which is incomprehensible at this point.
But why is that the only path?
Well, because like you said, the brain will eventually deteriorate, right?
I mean, so if you that's true now, but it may not be true in the coming decades. We may figure out how to rejuvenate it.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I'm saying. We don't know. It's impossible for us to predict what's going to happen. The only thing we can model out, we can say, okay, we have these abilities of these. We can engineer the fundamental building blocks of our reality. Atoms and molecules and organisms. We're doing so in the form of drugs, epigenetic reprogramming, all these things. What is going to transpire because of these abilities? We don't know. Mm-hmm. But it's reasonable to me to say, I want to be around to see. And it's moving at a pace faster than any of us can imagine.
Well, Bryan Johnson, I appreciate you coming in. I mean, it's rare that you see someone really take the money they've made and invest it into something that all of society will benefit from, but also experiment on themselves in the process. Usually these are tests that are being done and control groups and everything else like that. But you're actually saying, okay, I believe in this so much that I'm not only investing my own money into this, but I'm actually doing this on myself. Mm-hmm. I'm experimenting on myself. I'm taking 90 pills a day. I'm spending $2 million a year. I got 30 doctors. I'm actually not eating what I want to eat. I'm eating what the algorithm tells me to eat. I'm exercising the way the algorithm tells me to exercise, and I'm actually following this procedure, and I'm letting everyone know how it works out. And I'm, like you said, open source, opening it to the world and letting everyone make, their own decision on whether they want to follow my footsteps or not. I think it's great, man.
Thanks.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Peace.